Okay. Okay. All right, cool. All right, so we'll be ready to go. All right, thank you everybody for coming today to this May 15th IDA board meeting. I guess we got to go through the roll call. We have present here Cristina Amato. We have Gregory Nato, Adam Pollock, myself, Yania, Sheriff Vickers, and Robert, Mr. McLaughlin. So, proof of notice of the meeting was sent out. So it's a public notice. And we did have, moving on to item number 3, in the reading and approval of the minutes, I believe we have some comments on these items. Here you go.
Just in reviewing the minutes, I just wanted to make a slight correction regarding the section of the chairman's report where we're basically talking about the ideas that we came back from the last training that we did. And so I read the minutes and I remembered the meeting slightly different in the minutes, so I just wanted to make this change. And so it says, the change would read like this. The board member, Teresa Priester, feels that the agency should promote its activities, including stepping up our social media presence. She also commented that the IDA board needs to have our mission up front in our minds and possibly share it at the beginning of all IDA board meetings. The board has stated this process of media outreach by the board has started this process of media outreach by actively engaging a firm to create a new logo, which will propel the agency forward from there. Inspired by the conference, Ms. Pearson commented that she feels there's a need for more discussion and transparency at IDA board meetings. She would also like more time to discuss issues related or unrelated to resolutions at meetings. So the old meeting said, Teresa said that. I just said that was those were my comments.
Okay.
So that's a change.
All right. Okay.
So Cher will change the minutes, and it will reflect this, if that's okay. With that, I'm fine with the minutes.
Okay. So then we need a motion to approve the changes to the proposed minutes, and then do we need a second motion to then approve that?
You read the changes that you given that.
Yes.
So you can make a motion to approve the minutes as amended,
Okay.
Okay.
and then a second, and then vote on them.
Okay. So yep. So I need a motion to approve the minutes as they were amended.
I move that we approve the minutes as amended.
That was Gregory Nato. So I need so we got a second.
Yania Pearson, second it.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? All right, thank you. So, on to item number 4, the Treasurer's Report.
Thanks, Marlon. The Treasurer's Report meeting May 15th, 2023. In our operating account, the opening balance was $135,691.38. During the course of the month, we had total deposits totaling $12,198.23. We had total disbursements in the amount of $4,850.52, bringing the balance to close at $143,039.09. We had a couple of outstanding checks that actually cleared during the month. One was from December 2022. The second is from February 2023. So the closing balance in our QuickBooks is $139,684.29 for the operating account. In our payroll account, we began the time period on April 1st with $109,174.25. During the course of the month, obviously, we made our payroll payments, and the closing balance was $101,000, $618.82. Our applications fund began and ended with the same balance, unchanged, $14,137.50. our lesser tenant account also began and ended unchanged, $2,400 balance. Our labor monitoring account began and ended with the same balance, $15,000 even. And our money market account opened with a balance of $4,769,035.19. We had interest credits totaling $12,347.23 during the course of the month, and closed with $4,781,382.42. So, take a motion to accept the report as submitted.
I make a motion to accept the treasurer's report for this month.
Okay. So all in favor?
Oh, wait a second.
We got a second.
I'll second. Gregory Nato?
All right.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 And then we'll entertain a motion to pay our bills.
make
I
a
move-
Go ahead, Greg.
I move to pay the bills. Gregory Nato.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. That was John, yeah, for a second.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, so then we can move on to executive session to discuss the sale of property.
Need a vote to go into executive session.
So we would need to, yeah, all right, so let's vote. I need a motion.
You need a motion. I will make a motion, Christina Amato, to go into executive session to discuss the sale of real property.
Need a second.
Second.
That was Adam Pollock. All right. All right, so we just came back from executive session. I believe, Christina.
Yep, I want to make a motion to extend the contract for the sale of Scobie Drive for these gentlemen for 12 months, for the 12-month period of to June 30th, 2024, based off our conversation in executive session.
A second.
All right, so all. Oh, yep, so we need a roll call for that.
Okay, Christina Amato,
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Marlon Ramos,
Yes.
Yania Pearson, Adam Pollock,
Yes.
and Michael Kelly is absent, and so is Teresa Priester.
Okay, so then we can move on to the second item.
Can I just ask who asked to come out of executive session? Who?
Yania and Chrissy, second.
Okay. So I'll just say it out loud because somebody's going to do the minutes. So first it was Yania, and then Chrissy, who came out of executive
Yes.
session. Okay, thank you.
And then you can go to your part.
And the other decision we made in executive session was to
Approve the,
approve the staff,
There you go.
to approve the staff contracts as amended, and one of the amended would be the time. So instead of May 15th through December 30th, May 15th through May 14th, so that it would be an annual contract.
Sure. Even though we have that.
and then,
coming
so
up.
I think we're gonna need a roll call for this one as well.
You need a motion, second.
Yep, motion, all right, so first we need a motion.
Give me
So I
one,
guess I'll do that. So I move that we approve the staff contracts as amended.
All right, so second?
I'll second. Gregory Nato?
okay, give me one, I'll do the roll call. And I'll just reiterate, this is for resolution 2023-05-15-05.
Thank you.
And, okay, Marlon Ramos,
Yes.
Christina Amato, Michael Kelly is absent, Adam Pollock,
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Teresa Priester is absent, and Yania Pearson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. So on to item number 6, the chairman's report. So I have very little to report, other than I actually ran into, their name escapes me, but the Foundry projects, gentlemen.
Adam,
Andrew.
Andrew Shriver.
Yeah. So, and they are confident they'll be able to take us in for a tour sometime August, September time. So, I told them about a break, the break that we have, because it could be earlier for them, but by the time we come back, so for us to touch bases with them and make sure that, we're also putting a face to the name for the stuff that we're doing. But I'm excited about that. Absolutely.
Me too. I walk my dog around there
Yeah.
every morning, and it's so
Start-
good.
yeah, it's starting,
it's
so-
so good.
Just want to keep seeing more. All right. And do we have, so that's from my end on to item number 7, council's report.
Thank you. I just have a couple of brief housekeeping items, I think. One is, I did want to note, and I have copies for each of the members if you want. We're in legislative session up in Albany, and whenever the legislators are there, they like targeting IDAs. So there's several bills that are proposed that would affect you. None of them have passed yet. None of them have been signed yet, obviously. But there was one bill just of note. It's in Orange County that you should be aware that, and you may be aware, Senator Skoufis proposed language in the budget that appointed a monitor for the Orange County IDA. I don't believe the monitor has been appointed yet. There's 90 days to have the monitor appointed by the State Inspector General. The monitor will have veto power over the IDA actions, both at committee and board meetings and on UTEP and other contracts. So I was surprised that it got passed, that included in the budget, but it's there. It's a precedent, if that's
Yep.
This just applies to the Orange County?
just to the Orange County IDA, but it's a step.
Precedent,
It's
yeah.
a step. Huh? No,
It's ongoing.
no.
It's a
And he didn't make
Per-
perpetuity.
Perpetuity, in perpetuity, yeah.
any other IDs?
None. No, just
Just
the
Orange
Orange County IDA.
Orange County.
I think what spurred it was the fact that, there was a scandal. Bill, the
Right.
new executive director, has, tried to change all that.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was a project that, I think, the wrong box was checked on the application. They didn't catch it or whatever. They granted a tax pilot, and the senator,
Yes,
I
so
think, believed that
you
they
guys
were
know
out
the
of control.
details on that? No? All right, so basically, if you don't mind, I'll just take a little bit of time. So there is there's a question in the application that says, if you are not granted these tools, if you aren't given these tools, tax, pilots and stuff like that, will this project still go on? And they checked yes. So after that, past that, I don't know any details. I didn't check the financials of the company or things like that. But yeah, it just makes us also want to make sure that we're working diligently and we're checking on everything. I think we're doing the right thing here.
You have all the protocols in place right now. Cher's doing a great job with that. The question goes to the but-for test, which is
Right.
always the question. But for the IDA benefits, would the project still go forward?
That's right.
You don't have that check the box in your application. They still did. They don't anymore, or I think they intend to change it. But you're doing you have the right approach. You're doing your cost-benefit analysis. You're looking at each project. You've engaged consultants to assist the executive director and the board to do that. You're transparent in how you operate. There's no there, or here that would cause anyone any angst.
I was going to say, did they not, our cost-benefit analysis has essentially checked the box or alleviated a lot of that concern in that there's an independent third party who is reviewing and saying, do they need it? And if they need it, how much do they need it? Does county not have?
You'd be
do you know
surprised
that?
how different each IDA works.
Works, yeah.
So different.
Interesting.
They have more staff. They have internal finance people that do that analysis. They wind up essentially in the same place. They have the same program, but the monitor now would be able to veto, and then there's language in the statute that says if it's vetoed or denied, they have to wait 10 days before they can bring it up again. So it's an inconvenient, it's an inconvenience to the Orange County IDA. It doesn't apply to you at all, doesn't apply to any other IDA in the state, but it is a step that could be, expanded, and it's just something to be mindful of.
Right.
So I felt it important to raise it and make you aware of it.
There were indictments and convictions, right?
Yes. Well,
Is that noted in the legislation?
No. There were indictments, there were, I'm not sure if they were convictions or if they
There's some people that have to pay back.
they voluntarily, whatever in criminal law a settlement is, it's not a settlement, but they consented to a charge, they paid a fine. I don't think anyone went to jail. I can't remember that, but they may have. I know the prior executive director did go to jail before the last group came in, back probably 8 or 9 years ago. I think he was convicted for 3 years of fraud. So there is, unfortunately, a history there.
Yeah.
The other item I just wanted to mention is, and Sharon and I have been working on it, and it's mentioned in your draft audit, is Crown Castle, which is your cell tower lease. We can talk about the audit findings, unfortunately, probably in executive session, since it's a draft audit. We could have talked about that as well. But I did want to note that that lease does expire in February, so there are some decisions that the IDA board should consider, because if it makes sense, assuming the city is getting a benefit still from that cell tower, and obviously the agency is as well, to start to renew that lease with Crown Castle. And that's the end of my report.
Do we need to discuss the audit today, or should we discuss that next session?
I think you should have a brief discussion tonight, and then you should, I think Cher proposed a special meeting between now and Memorial Day, so next week, if possible, to get that approved. Because you do need it approved before the city can get it done, and then you also need to file your ABO report, your parish report, which is now late, and you've already received one notice saying, hey, by the way, you're late. So you're not in danger of losing anything yet. That goes until September, but you really should try and get it filed before the end of the quarter. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, on to council's, to executive director's report.
Yes, I think a few things to note. So, last time we met, we were talking about that the board or the committee was going to choose a logo. They did. They chose the one with the little city, and so now I've started using that to update things. I kind of wanted to use this as an opportunity to poll, like if you're interested in business cards. As board members, you can have that. You go out into the community, you meet people who are in the development world who you would like to introduce as an IDA board member. That's, I think, totally appropriate. I get them all the time at the conferences. So we can convene on that if that's something that you're interested in.
Let's do the ones with the barcode too.
You want a QR code?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people just throw them away. No, just scan it and save it, and then, let's get official here.
Okay, can have them made up for everybody. Sorry?
You could,
Yeah.
I know, like, you could actually get like a band. But anyways, yeah, sorry.
Super fancy for the next IDA
Absolutely.
conference.
This is right.
Yep, and we spoke about, so I spoke to Bob about retreat dates. That was something that we wanted to talk about. So that would probably have to happen on a Friday, according to everybody here. And I think you only have 3 Fridays available, right?
I can make the 16th work if necessary. My granddaughter's flying in
On the 16th.
on the 16th.
Did you have other days too, or no? That's just that one and
The 30th, I'm on Long Island.
okay, and then that's it until September.
What are the options again?
So it pretty much is June 16th.
June
June
16th?
9th, June 2nd, 9th, and 23rd are fine.
Oh, June 9th, June 16th, or June 23rd?
June 2nd, 9th, 16th, or 23rd, any one of those.
Okay, so June 9th, I can't. So I have an event. I could the 16th, and I probably could the 23rd. I kind of feel like I would
I can't
probably.
the 9th, I can't the 16th. Yeah, no.
And the 23rd,
I can do the 23rd.
you can do the. Anybody else can do the 23rd? Okay. It's either that or we wait until September, but I figured we'd try and, I mean, because then I think, yeah, he's in Long Island, and then everybody's on vacation, and then it's just super hard. So you want to just wait until,
I- The 16th?
I can't, I have
I
a,
can't even be present.
no.
Yeah, nah.
Wait, let me look at this again.
So June for me
Sorry.
is really almost impossible.
I'm sorry, I could the 23rd,
23rd is the
23rd or the 16th. Those are the only 2 days that I can.
Okay.
And everybody,
So I think for me, September, I have Friday the 1st, 8th, and the 15th open.
I 26th is open for me, but.
Oh,
is
it's
it
a
open for
Monday?
you? The May 26th?
June?
Wait, what are you're talking about May, right?
May, yeah.
I could May 26th.
I'm already booked on that.
According to the last board meeting, everybody said they could only do it on a Friday.
June, there's only one Friday. Oh, actually two. Technically the 2nd and the 23rd. You could do the 23rd. I can do it, but Cher cannot, right?
June 23rd, I can't, Yanni, I can.
Oh, yeah, I can. Well, every Monday is.
We have board meeting June 19th.
Oh, I can't do that.
No, that's a state holiday.
Is it, well, we did it last year. We had the meeting anyway. Because last year, the city hall wasn't closed for Juneteenth, so if it was open, but we did say something about it when the meeting commenced. So that's a,
We have a little bit of time to change that. I can't make that one. June, Mondays? Okay, so for me, okay, any day could work. Okay.
well, I think Bob has the harder schedule. You might want to ask.
Yeah, let's
No. You tell me a date now.
okay.
Okay.
So do you, all right, if it's the beginning of June for me, from Sunday the 4th to the 8th is a good one. I could squeeze any one of those days there. Then if it's in the middle of the month, then I can do Monday the 12th to the 15th. Then I can do the following week, the 21st to the 23rd. And then the following week, the 26th to the 29th. And that,
Or I just on one of those thingies. What's that thing called?
I can do I'm just looking at Monday since everybody said
Monday?
So I can do almost any day that you want me to in June, okay?
So June 5th?
The last week of June, I'm supposed to be away. But other than that, I can make anything work.
So let's pick a Monday.
The 5th?
The 5th or the 12th, I can do.
You could do the 12th, and then you can just roll the board meeting
Let's
into
do
that,
that.
and then that way Marlon doesn't miss the 15th.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Rather than just roll the board meeting
How
out.
about you?
Not too much. And just knock it out for June.
So the 12th, June 12th seems to be.
We have to come up with a agenda.
So what time on the 12th?
Yeah. We could do, if you wanted to roll into a board meeting, we could start at maybe in the afternoon and then,
Lunchtime?
sorry? Oh, well, actually, if City Hall's using this meeting for, I'm sorry, if City Hall's using this room for
Yeah.
something, then, I mean, we'll just make any other place work, but,
Strongly object to using this space. I'm serious.
No, I agree.
I know, the only problem is that it has to be recorded, so that's the pain.
Yeah, we could all,
Wireworks, Beehive, does Beehive have, does
right,
Beehive have, capability to record things?
Oh. You can meet without recording.
For the,
we could do the,
oh,
we,
okay,
we
I thought we
could,
had to record. Oh, okay, then, okay, fine, never mind, we can meet anywhere you want. I thought
You
we-
can meet as a board, as a retreat. You're not taking any actions.
Right.
It's not a
That's a
formal.
retreat, that's right.
It's not a formal board meeting or action of a board. Doesn't have
but
to be
then when
recorded.
we go to the meeting, because we're thinking of doing the same day, rolling into the meeting,
that's something different then.
then we could plan for that. Okay,
Then we might need to squeeze in the law library downstairs, because
then
they're
let's-
likely using this room for
so
something.
let's just stick to the day, I think.
So
we
June-
can figure out the details.
June 12th,
12 works for everybody.
I'm thinking like 12 PM. There's no reason to be here at 9 in the morning. So maybe like 12, and then at the end of the day, we just, take a break and then
Yep.
just do a board meeting.
Yep, okay.
Okay, I still will have to run this by Teresa,
Okay.
but,
All right,
so
So you're moving the board meeting from the 19th?
awesome.
from the 19th to the 12th. Is it the 19th?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, 7 days. Yeah, so we'll move,
I think
we'll talk about it. I know, I just need to brainstorm on a nice place, what is nice, So June 12th for a board meeting, so if you're appearing at the June 12th meeting, you'll know. Yeah, I'll work on that, and for the board meeting, okay. Well, it's just good to start something, I don't know if everybody was here for the last one we did. I feel like some people might have been missing.
I was there.
Most people were there.
Adam,
I don't know, yeah, but, it shouldn't be the last, shouldn't be the first, so, it's just good to get it started somewhere. So with that, I'll also say, you see in your packets that Mike Kelly sent in his resignation letter. So we need to find a replacement. I have a feeling that probably won't happen until September, because we need to conduct interviews. Considering if this happens the way there's two scenarios, right? The way this has happened always in the past, where it's like we put out an ad on our website, people answer it, you interview them. If your candidate, you would present that person to city council, and then they would appoint that person. Or it goes the other way, where city council finds their own person and they appoint them. It could go either way. So, now that they'll know that there's somebody there, but we're also just going into a time period where people might not be responding to this stuff, vacation mode. So, just maybe keep in your mind that maybe we won't find somebody until September-ish. worst-case scenario. But once I have it written up, because I think I'll just use the same one that's been in the past, send it to everybody you know, and hopefully we get back some responses.
We,
If we could share with City Hall what our process is, the interviewing process and all of this, and then ask them to throw some names in there if they're interested, so that we can also consider their candidates in the way that we might consider others.
I don't think you have that luxury. Like, if they appoint somebody, there is no considering their candidate versus your candidate. If their opinion, like, they make the opinion at the end. So if they have a candidate, then that's it. Sorry?
they can supersede us.
Yes. Okay, that, and I wanted to mention what Bob was mentioning, that we probably should try to have a quick meeting for the audit, but we can talk about that later. But just want to throw that out there. It would be hopefully not too much of your time, but between now and like the next week and a half. That is it for now.
Thank you so much. You know what, I'm gonna make a little bit of a change in the way that we have the bullet points here. I wanna give them the space to speak next,
Okay.
so.
So you want to do resolution 2023-0515-02?
Yeah, we can move on straight to that since they've been patient and waiting for us, so, let's see. What do we have here?
For the sequence?
Yeah.
So I think we can talk about this, Bob and I. Maybe we'll talk about the reason why we need this in the first place, yeah?
Okay, so this is 2023-05-15-02, right? To appoint a consultant to complete the seeker review for the proposed 191, I want to get the name right, 191 Washington Street LLC project that has been before you, and it's already been the subject of a couple of public meetings. The applicant requested that you do a seeker review. Normally, you would wait until the planning board completed their seeker review, and then as part of the approving resolution, you would then adopt a seeker, make it the seeker determination, and then an approving resolution. Seeker has to be done on every one of your approvals, every one of your projects, because the law requires you to take a hard look at what action you, as a public body, is taking with respect to this project that affects real property. 99.9% of the time, your projects will simply review what the planning board has done and then adopt their findings, either a negative declaration or some affirmative action that needs to be taken. Here, planning is a little bit behind. The applicant would like your, ultimately, you to consider an approving resolution so that they can get, as I understand it, some financing together so that they can then go to planning and get everything finished up on their side. What this is recommending is that you appoint a consultant to help get the environmental assessment form completed. They've already completed part 1 of the environmental assessment form. You need to complete, as an agency, parts 2 and 3. There is no expertise here at the agency to do that. I can't do it as your attorney. I can review what's being done, but I can't make that environmental decision. Share has reached out to 2 companies. One has come back with a proposal that makes a recommendation at a relatively nominal cost for them to look at the project and make that final EAF for you to consider, and then potentially vote on, and then potentially vote on an approving resolution. That approving resolution would be subject to planning board approval. So even though it's approved, you wouldn't be able to close on that until that planning board actually approved a project, which right now is not where you're at. There was one other item I wanted to mention. So there's a concept in seeker with a coordinated review, so that all agencies are supposed to coordinate with each other where possible and pick one lead agency to do the seeker review, and that the thought behind that is that you're not having multiple seeker reviews for essentially the same project. In this case, the Board of Zoning Appeals has already done an uncoordinated review to grant them zoning approval for their project. The Planning Board is doing an uncoordinated review as well. That allows you, in this case, to do an uncoordinated review for your own determination, your own EAF. If planning had already issued what's called a lead agency request or notice saying that they were going to do a coordinated review among all the agencies and that they were designating themselves as lead agency, you could not do what you're being asked to do tonight. You would have to wait for planning. But because it's all uncoordinated right now, and because there has been a request for you to proceed expeditiously so that they can proceed, that's why you're being requested to do this. Engagement of the consultant, who will then present an EAF to you, presumably at the June meeting, for you to consider, and then we can consider an approving resolution at that time as well.
So I have a question about how, or if there would be any sort of issues, because we don't have any experience with this, another agency coming in, a third party coming in to then, whether it be it's a positive or a negative result that would come out of it, but would there be any issues from the planning board, since it's an outside agency, not within the city of Newburgh? Like how can we then be ahead of the game, or try to be in a position to help out the developers?
So great question. You're engaging a third-party consultant, so it's not an agency, it's not a public body. You make the determination. The consultant is looking at the environmental impacts of the project as presented in your application to this board, as far as you know, with what they've already said. If the consultant has any questions, they're going to reach out to the applicant for specific questions, okay? The consultant will then use that information and complete parts 2 and 3 of the environmental assessment form, which, frankly, is a short form, and it's to check the box. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. They will then present that to you, presumably at the next meeting, okay? Review it with you, and then you make the independent decision to adopt what the consultant is recommending. The consultant can't make the seeker finding. They can only recommend to you what finding you should make. Is it binding on the planning board? It's not, because it's an uncoordinated review.
Got it.
It's your decision, and really your decision is based solely on what you're doing, which is granting of financial assistance, which, for my pet peeve, has always been you're not really affecting the environment. What they do at planning and what they do in building will affect the environment. But merely granting the financial assistance is really not an action affecting real property. That said, seeker is very expensive and can capture that granting of financial assistance as a action, which is why you do seeker determinations on all your approving resolutions. If it was, again, if it was a coordinated review, you could not do what you're being asked to do today. It's an uncoordinated review. It's not binding on the planning board. If you said you want to be lead agency, you want to conduct it, A, I try and talk you out of it because you don't have the skill set to do it. But B, at that point, it would be binding on the planning board, and they could not go forward until that was done.
Okay.
You gotta talk in the mic.
So would we essentially be approving the, what exact, I mean, I'm trying to think of.
All you're doing
The
tonight,
secret, and I'm trying to think of when we actually are going to be ready to vote on the pilot.
so all you're doing tonight is considering the appointment of a consultant to complete the environmental assessment form,
Okay,
to give you information that you don't have now, that I don't have, the chair doesn't have, no one has, okay? The consultant would then come back in June. At that time, you can adopt the seeker resolution, or you can take the recommendation, think about it, and consider it at your next meeting in September. If you wanted to consider it in June and make your seeker determination, it'll probably be a neg deck. It could be a positive deck, but it's probably a neg deck. Then the next step for you to consider is, do you want to go ahead with the approving resolution? The approving resolution would be your standard approving resolution for their request for sales tax exemption, for mortgage recording tax exemption, and for the pilot, which is a deviation from the UTEP. But you've already had 2 public hearings on that, and there was support for the deviation from your UTEP.
So we could vote on those at the same time, in the same meeting.
Right, and typically that's what you would do. Yes. But the only difference in that would be that approving resolution, which would then lead to a closing of IDA documents, which makes a lease back for the applicant and puts you in the chain of title. The resolution will say you can't do that until there's actually planning board approval.
Okay. But we wouldn't have to vote after the planning board. We could,
No, no, but you could if you wanted to change something, but
Yeah.
the idea, but once you got planning board approval, is then you could go right to a closing.
Either for Seisha or for Bob, you guys who determines scope? I mean, if nobody declared lead agency, this is uncoordinated. I mean, normally with seeker, you have to look at traffic and viewshed and all of those environmental questions. With us, do we have different scoping, or is there like a standard scope that all interested agencies are looking at? Or are they just analyzing for us the scope that's relative to?
So scoping is, that's again, great question. Scoping is a part of seeker that can be done, doesn't have to be done. Typically, when there's an agency that wants to insert itself, make sure that certain issues are reviewed, they can make a request for a scoping session. And then all of that comes in, and before you can even engage in a seeker review, a full environmental assessment, you would have that scoping session first. And if this was a project that was determined that would without question, create a negative impact to the environment, or an environmental impact that would require a full environmental assessment, a scoping session would be entirely appropriate.
So you guys have already been neg decked through P&Z? ZBA, okay. So presumably everybody else, all the other interested agencies that have to do this uncoordinated are presumably going under the same path. I mean, you're not expecting to get neg deck from most agencies and then us
So
or somebody.
before they answer that, let me jump in. Your consultant will answer that question for you, okay? If your consultant, as they go through the EAF, determines that, you know, this is going to be impactful to the environment, that it requires a full environmental assessment form or assessment review, the consultant will make that determination. If, on the other hand, they determine that they're staying within the footprint of the property, they're expanding what's already there, and then building on it, but the building as proposed is consistent with the zoning board approval, and then what planning board would normally look at and approve, they may make a determination that they can use the long-form EAF, parts 2 and 3, and make a recommendation to you based on that. That doesn't prevent the planning board from telling them, when they get to that point, you know, you're proposing to build, and we want a larger, more robust environmental assessment done. And that, you know, that's on them, that's on the planning.
So the agencies, obviously uncoordinated, don't have to be coordinated in that if somebody requires a full long-form, you know, EAF, that we don't.
This is a very unusual approach.
Who determines findings? What comes out of it? I mean, I guess as each one of us determines. This is just very strange. Generally, you have like one set of findings, one set of.
It's a very unusual way to proceed, but it's a narrow exception in the secret statute that allows for these uncoordinated reviews to occur. In most cases, again, in 99% of the time, the planning board says, we're lead agency, and we're going to do a coordinated review, and they send out notices. And they may in fact do that at some point in the future, but they haven't done it yet.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a way to quicken the process, possibly.
From your standpoint, yes.
Yeah. From,
Right.
what about the developer's standpoint? Yeah.
Know what the buildings are going to look like, we know what the programming is, how many units, square footage. And same thing with the site design, we know where the utilities are coming. So we've answered those questions to the level that we can at a kind of preliminary stage. So in order to move forward with the planning board, we have to start working on design development and actually go all the way, right? So there's a substantial amount of design work that needs to happen before we can complete that. And the reason we've been waiting on that, it's because it's a big project, so the design work is a lot of money. And we can't really do that until we get the project funded. And we
Can't get
we
funding.
can't get the project funded without a pilot. So if we have a resolution, if the pilot is approved, then we can, move forward with the banks and get the project financed. Then we can, rehire the engineers and architects and get going and go back to the planning board.
Got it.
So when this,
Thank you.
separate of you guys, when this comes up again, because obviously we interact with a lot of developers who have this chicken and egg issue where they need some sort of assurance for a pilot before they can get financing through the banks in order to move forward, even with even with, you know, the design phase before they get that far. Is this something that we would anticipate seeing more of, where we would do these uncoordinated seeker reviews and approvals in order to issue a pilot? Or, I mean, because haven't we gotten to this point before where we have issued pilots before final of everyone else? No?
So you, in my tenure in representing the agency, you've done it once, which was the Foundry project.
Foundry, yeah.
And the concept on the Foundry was that they already had all these approvals
Correct, right.
from eons ago. There were seeker determinations made eons ago, and your seeker determination, your recent seeker determination on the Foundry project was confirming the negative deck and utilizing the fact that all this work was going to be done within an existing structure, and had already been approved. Other than that, every one of your projects has had planning board take the lead on seeker, which is fairly standard, and they did lead agency letters, including you in some cases, but in others, certainly including other agencies there. So to your specific question, would this come up again? It could. I think it's probably not likely, because most developers would just proceed with the planning board, and planning board would just issue a lead agency letter and to do a coordinated review. That's the norm. This is a one-off, and I don't think it's a one that's likely to be repeated.
So I was going to say, do we know which consultant will do this?
We've spoken to Lank and Tully, and so you have it in the back of the resolution. You have what the quote is for this work. It's about $1,200, and then it would go to her hourly rate for her to appear at the board meeting. So I'll have to let her know about the 12th.
Yeah, and I would recommend that she do come present her report and findings and be available for questions that you may have.
The button. There you go.
To connect back to what Chrissy was talking about in terms of the likelihood of this happening again, it seems like because the planning board and these different boards issued uncoordinated, it gives an opportunity, and that wouldn't be,
That is not standard.
that's not standard. Yeah.
Well, let me caveat that by saying it's fairly standard for the ZBA to do an uncoordinated review, because they're looking at this narrow purpose of, can we expand the zoning law to allow this project to fit, okay? And that has to get done before they can go to planning, because if they don't have the ZBA, planning won't even talk to them. But then when you, right? Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened here. The reason we started with the CBA is because the variances that we needed, without them, there's no project.
Right.
It was
So they have
physically impossible to do.
Yeah, so they have a project, but in most cases at that point, they make an application to planning, they pay all the fees, they have all the plans, they have everything done, and the planning board says, okay, we have to do a seeker review, here's our lead agency, we'll do a coordinated review with all the city agencies and everything else, including the IDA. In this, they're not at that point yet. And so they're in this catch-22 with financing, and they're asking, and to their credit, they've asked several times. And finally, I had to engage one of my partners to look at the seeker rules, because he's an expert, and he said, yeah, this is a very narrow exception. It's very unusual, but it can be done this way. And I think their lawyer agreed with that, Dominic. Yeah.
Need a motion?
Yeah, we need a motion.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-05-15-02.
Hold on one second, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am going to add a whereas, and I apologize that it's not in your copy. I am going to add a whereas after the meeting to just document the fact that the executive director did reach out to more than one consultant to try and get a bid for the purposes of this meeting, and so that you've fulfilled your procurement policy. Okay. Sorry about that.
So I'll finish, make a resolution, or make a motion to pass such resolution as amended.
All right, so we need a second.
A second.
All right, that was Adam Pollock, and we need a
Okay.
roll call for this one.
Yep, one. Okay, Marlon Ramos?
Yes.
Christina Amato?
Yes.
Michael Kelly is absent. Adam Pollock?
Yes.
Gregory Nato?
Yes.
Teresa Priester is absent, and Yania Pearson.
Yes.
So we'll be in touch. No problem.
Thank you, guys.
Good one.
Sure.
All right. So on to, let's go back to resolution 2023-05-1501, authorizing the consulting services.
Want me to introduce that for you?
Yes, please.
Sure. So this is to talk about revising our UTEP and getting a consultant to do that. So we tabled that at the last board meeting because it was, determined that we needed to reach out to more than one person for our procurement policy. So I'm actually, we can talk about it tonight, but I'm also prepared that maybe you all don't want to make a decision about that tonight, because I actually just got another quote right before the board meeting that I've attached onto this resolution. So initially, we spoke about MRB doing this work, and he quoted us $6,000 to come to the board meeting, I think to the board twice, and do the work. I reached out to another company in the realm of this work, it's not that many people, and they told us that they would not do this analysis, Camoin. The third one that I really wanted to reach out to was the ones who did the whole New Rochelle model, which is what we're trying to do here. And he's incredibly busy, and then some unfortunate stuff happened, but we were able to talk on Friday. And then he gave me the quote Monday at 4 o'clock. So I've included that, so let's just talk about it. So his quote is for $15,000. I think it includes different things. So I think what NDC does, I think some of you would be particularly interested in. It should be in the back of Resolution 01, right? Let's just look at it here. Yep, so MRB is just 2 pages, and then the one from NDC is a couple more. So something that he does is he will analyze our UTEP and make sure it's consistent with other various IDAs, and also demonstrate a net public benefit, and that public benefits exceed project benefits. And what he would do is analyze the current zoning and make sure that it's the highest and best use for the zoning that we have. And there was one particular part that I wanted to point out, but they even can talk about or dive into, let's say 200 units are going to be created, the impact on the school district, and any and every little thing that somebody would come to a board meeting and complain about, this would be handled beforehand. So I think his proposal is a little bit more in-depth, but I also think that this is really spot on for what we were trying to do here.
So this looks at specific zones where we had asked, I think, talked about that before, where they kind of MRB sort of discussed that, but it wasn't necessarily definitively included in their estimate, and to sort of analyze, right, highest and best use, and
He kind of talks about it. He talks about looking at other IDAs, in his scope, review existing UTEP, work with the ED in areas that is in conflict, create options for the IDA board to consider, tap into other IDA UTEPs for best practices. But like if you look at the NDC one, and I know, we just got it in, it just, like he's coming from a position where it's just a way deeper dive. And so the email that he provided for me gives 6 examples of other projects where they did this type of work, and they were all mixed use, which is exactly, and I'll be, happy to forward that to you. I just know that you weren't going to be able to see it in time. But yeah, so he is willing to come to a board meeting and to present to you all, to see what you think about this. So I think maybe you'd want to hear from him and know,
To your point, this is somebody that's worked with a successful IDA, or an IDA that's doing good work, and consistently, which is where we want to go. We want to be more active and hopefully, make a bigger impact. Anyways, let's get this gentleman.
Yeah, I just want to point this out. Like, he talks about crafting language for prospective residential developments expected by the Newburgh IDA, and that this policy include market rate with affordable set aside, mixed-use development, 100% affordable. And so, those 4 scenarios, you have the ability to have that schedule created beforehand with, market research backed up. Mm-hmm. Right, and ideally what would happen is you would craft a UTEP and then send it to the taxing jurisdictions. They approve it beforehand, and then basically this is just a developer-ready document that they can look at. So I will send you his email with the other examples that he's done. I can go back to Michael from MRB and see where his work compares. Maybe for the June meeting, his name is Kevin. Maybe we can have him here. But this was exactly like what I was hoping for. It's just taken a little while to develop the relationship to get it to. I have the details for you. So I would just recommend tabling it for this meeting.
Okay.
Can the MRB group do the same services as NDC? Because I was just flipping through it. And we had seen MRB's last time, and it's a lot shorter, response, and I'm guessing they receive the same, request for services, but they're answered very differently. So I don't know if that means one is more, has more in their wheelhouse to offer, or maybe MRB just didn't know how in-depth to go with their response.
So I'm going to go back to him now that I have something to compare it to. I didn't have anything to compare it to before. I'll go back to him and hopefully have that to you for the June meeting.
okay. So I think we should table it,
Yep.
June.
Table it. All right, thank you for that. All right, so now we're going to go on to the following resolution, which is authorizing banking services resolution 2021051503.
You want me to speak to that?
The Audit Finance Committee met, so one of the 2 members can.
You do it, Chrissy. You do it.
Met. We put out an RFP, and this was sort of a question which I think from our emails we can do this, but as any of you who bank are maybe familiar with, there's something called FDIC insurance, which only insures your money in a bank up to $250,000. That generally is across whatever services you have at the bank. So if you happen to have a savings account with money in it and money market account, it's $250,000 across both of them. As you guys all saw from our finance report, we have enough to be divvied up, $250,000 kind of scattered throughout many banks, which is a logistical nightmare, and realistically, most people don't do. But we got responses, I think, from just 3 banks, from Orange, from TD, and from Lakeland. And we specifically sent out the RFP requesting more operational bank services who we currently have with TD Bank. So we currently have a checking account with them, we currently actually have a money market account, and we have various escrow accounts with them that are already set up that have been for a while. But we had also asked Cher to ask them, and you can see online, what their money market interest rate is and what their CD rates are, because right now we're in a really unique place in the world and the country where interest rates are high, and as we are seeing, we're earning a sizable amount of money just letting it sit there in a money market account. So I think after discussion, again, we can't divvy this up among hundreds of banks to cover the $250,000 FDIC insurance, but it is generally prudent, I think, it happens often in the business world, to at least have 2 banking relationships, to sort of split it up for a variety of reasons, but depending on what happens, and we've discovered this, personally have discovered this recently, where everybody was panicking and taking money out of certain places and not sure if their bank was collapsing, if their money was going to be insured, if it was disappearing, that in that rush to do that, trying to transfer money to another bank, a lot of banks kind of closed their doors and said, unless you already have a banking relationship with us, we can't take your funds, we can't help you, we can't open an account, we can't whatever. So TD Bank happens to be a very secure bank and weathered this past storm well, but I think it is good for us as an institution to have 2 banking relationships. Also, additionally, if you look at the CD rates right now, the money market rates, both TD and Lakeland were comparable in their money market rate. They are offering us 4%, which is a great percentage rate. There are some that are more competitive, and certainly CDs of different lengths are more competitive than that. But money markets are same-day availability, so it's almost like a checking account. It's a good place to earn 4% for any money that we're actively not using at that time. Then the next level is CDs, and you can get 3-month CDs, 9-month CDs, 18-month, there are various lengths of CDs. Ironically, right now, the sweet spot is 9 months. Everybody's offering their version of the highest interest rate on a 9-month CD. Lakeland is offering right now on the CDs, so Lakeland is offering 4.75% on a 9-month CD, and TD, I believe, was, I have it printed up here, but I think it was only 4.5%. So what we came to was what we really should do, since we haven't had our retreat, where we do have to make some serious decisions about the direction of this money. Most immediately, if it's sitting, it should be in a CD, and it should be earning the highest interest rate that we have available to us. And so I think our recommendation was, of the theoretical, we'll use a round number, the $5 million. Currently, we have about $4 million just lump sitting in money market account earning 4%. And what we suggest is moving that to a 9-month CD at almost the 5%, the 4 3/4. And that leaves a little over, you said about $700,000, much of which, again, isn't operational. On a month-to-month basis, where you were transacting $12,000 to $20,000, not a tremendous amount. So what we're suggesting is to keep a certain amount of money in our operational checking account with TD, because that's all set up, or those escrow accounts for various projects are already set up. Keep that relationship with TD. Keep the remainder of whatever that whatever that is, up to that $4 million mark, so 600,000 or 650,000, whatever that difference is, put it in the money market, so it's available if we have projects very immediately that we want to use. 9 months goes by really quick. We're about to go on our break for the summer, and at least in the real estate world, if there's anything major you're transacting on, you know within a certain amount of time, it takes a certain amount of time with legal and closing, where you can call your banker and say, okay, I will need funds available on such and such date. You sort of schedule your closing so that when your CD matures, you'll have those funds. We also don't have to put all of the money into $4 million into one CD. You can have them layer it into multiple CDs and say, okay, in the end of 9 months, we maybe need $1 million because towards this project, and the other $3 million will continue to roll. Interest rates will change at the end of 9 months. Nobody knows where the world is going or what's going to happen with that, but if we have money that's sitting, it should be earning the highest interest rate that we have available that we can get. And then we have 2 banks that we have a relationship with. Lakeland Bank. Lakeland Bank has become a real neighborhood bank. They are actually lending, from what I understand, even in the city. A gentleman named John Rath, who many of you may know, who is actually from Newburgh, leads their New York, their upstate division, and is really truly a Newburgh champion. And so even though Lakeland isn't necessarily originated in the Hudson Valley, it is acting as a really great neighborhood bank. And TD Bank has been a good partner with us, so I think we would like to choose 2 banks and to kind of diversify that. So what would happen, again, to reiterate, is we're suggesting keeping anywhere between 20 and maybe 30 or 40,000 in the operating account, which is daily liquid that they transact with, pay bills back and forth. Put $4 million into the CD with Lakeland, which may require opening a checking account, which is just a matter of having an account attached to the CD when the money matures if we want to transfer it. And then the remainder of that money, which is around $650,000, would sit in the money market at TD, and is connected to our checking account, and as we have needs for it, we can just transfer it over and use it that way.
So the first,
Right now, is it at TD?
It is all at TD right now. It's all at TD. Yes.
so then, if I think that's a great idea, those are great ideas, all of them.
Just push your button.
So
Push your, he's.
Is it on?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
just-
I think that these are all great ideas. To move forward on the decision of this, do you think that we should, it's the first step to choose, I guess we're choosing the banks first?
2 banks. I think we
banks.
have to pass the resolution that addresses the RFP, and I am hoping, Bob, we can address the resolution by saying that we're essentially picking 2 banks for the RFP. This also goes to our investment policy, because essentially the CD is an investment vehicle.
Right.
Yeah, we can pass within the resolution.
So
that
the
we are
first step
choosing.
would be to agree on the 2 banks, and then I do want to circle back on the type of strategy that we're going to use,
Sure.
because maybe we don't lock that in now.
Sure.
But I do like to have that the strategy of having part of it to be ongoing, while some of it be liquid.
Right.
I only specifically talking about the $4 million that would be
Right.
with that strategy. So, yeah. So
So maybe what we do is we choose the 2 banks and we specify that we go, if we put in CDs, so probably what Lakeland will do is they'll open a checking account and probably a side money market account, which is, both of them are earning 4%. And so we can put the majority of the money there, and we can have a conversation with Lakeland about how much money goes into each CD and how they roll.
So, just let me jump in. For the purposes of the resolution,
Yep,
all you need to decide tonight is the 2 banks.
okay,
How you implement that
Yep.
is up to the Finance Committee and then the board.
yep.
It
Okay,
has,
perfect.
Tonight, just appoint the banks.
Okay.
And then you can figure
And
out,
we can open the accounts, and then we can have a conversation at our retreat or at our next emergency meeting. This is what we found out, and these are what our options are for putting in CDs.
Fantastic.
So, yes, that's my proposal. Orange Bank, just to discuss, they did propose, unfortunately, their interest rate is, on both the money market and the CDs were significantly lower. So that's how we came to these two.
All right. Thank you for that. So then I would need somebody to move forward on this resolution.
I move that we approve Resolution 2023-05-15-03 to authorize the banking services.
Right.
Yania,
Per the
second.
You have to say per the two banks.
For the two banks,
TD Bank,
TD Bank
and
and Lakeland Bank.
is that their name, Lakeland Bank?
Yeah, Lakeland Bank, yep.
Okay.
Yep, and TD Bank, yep.
All right. So,
I second that motion.
Do a roll call. Maya Ramos,
yes.
Christina Amato,
Yes.
Michael Kelly is absent, Adam Pollock.
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Teresa Priester is absent, and Yania Pearson.
Yes.
On to the following resolution, which is to enter into a renewal lease with Orange County, Resolution 2023-05-1504. Does anybody have anything to add to this?
I am going to make my comment, even though I think we should approve it as is, but in our conversations with Kelly about this, we discussed giving the county the 2-year lease that they requested, and that under the section about assigning and subleasing, that because it was such a short lease, they would not need to assign or sublease, and specifically, there's a clause in there which is standard with real estate, that their request would not be reasonably withheld if they did request to sublease. Again, I will just say, I don't think that they need the opportunity to sublease because 2 years is a very short time, which we are already in the midst of the 2 years. Unfortunately, they didn't take the language out. They added a sentence at the end. I emailed, but I haven't heard back if that resolves this situation. But I think it's such a short period of time. Hopefully, it's not an issue. But I don't think that they have the intention to sublease. I just also don't think that it can make things complicated if for some reason in the 11th hour they decide to, assign another tenant and then all of a sudden having to deal with.
We could argue that we could argue that it is unreasonable, or it's not unreasonable for us to deny that.
Right.
If it was like, okay, we're 18 months in, we have 6 months to go on this,
Yeah.
maybe that's the loophole.
This is one of those few moments where, like, government entities moving slow
Yep.
fall in our favor,
Yeah.
but,
Right.
just,
No, but I agree. I think we should move forward.
Yeah.
We've got to resolve this, but I just wanted to note for the record that we had addressed this and that it wasn't supposed to be in there, but we are hoping that this is not
Right.
an issue.
all right.
I would, I'm sorry, in the resolution that was drafted before you, if you go to page 2, on the third to last whereas clause, there's a blank, and that will be amended to read 1996. Okay, that's how long that they've already been there. And then in section 1, there's a reference to the notice of disposition of property by negotiation to the authority budget's office. We put that in there in abundance of caution because that law came into effect in 2006. Upon review and determination that they've been there since 1996, I don't believe that notice is required, but then again, I haven't made a final determination of that either. I'll make that determination tomorrow. There are exceptions in the public authorities law for leasing to a political subdivision, which is what the county is. It's a political subdivision of New York State. And in addition, your lease, this is just a renewal of an existing lease, which has been in effect since 1996. So I would just like to add at the end of section 1, if applicable, and then I'll make that determination tomorrow. And if we're required to send the notice, we'll send a copy to Cher, and she can send it out to the ABO. But at this point, I really don't think you're subject to that. But we put it in last week because we weren't really sure. Okay? Thank you.
Okay. All right, so with those items to keep in mind, when it comes to, if we move to approve of, I'm sorry, if we make a move to a motion to approve this resolution, do we need to add these points that you just mentioned?
Yes.
Okay.
Or just say as amended.
As amended.
As amended. Got it.
As amended by council.
All right, so,
So I, Yanni R. Pearson, make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-051504, resolution authorizing the agency to enter into a lease agreement, as amended.
all right. We need a second.
I'll second. Gregory Nato.
Okay.
Okay, and a roll call. Marlon Ramos,
Yes.
Christina Amato. Yes. Michael Kelly is absent. Adam Pollock,
Yes.
Gregory Nato,
Yes.
Teresa Priso is absent, and Yania Pearson.
Yes.
So on to old business.
We don't really have anything. We can, if you want to talk about it, sure.
I don't know.
I think you should briefly, before you review it, and then meet
I'm-
next week.
I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss, what is this, financial matters? Draft audit.
Draft audit.
Second?
So we need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah, I guess we have to say that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yep.
Aye.